What would happen if a day had 25 hours? At first, almost no one would notice, not because it wouldn't matter, but because it wouldn't arrive with fireworks or earthquakes or a dramatic announcement from the sky. There would be no sudden jolt, no extra sunrise, no mysterious new hour glowing on your clock. You would go to bed one night, wake up the next morning, and the only visible change would be that the sun seemed just a little slower than yesterday.
But that single extra hour would quietly begin to reshape everything. To understand why, we need to be clear about what a day actually is. A day isn't the sun rising and setting, that's just how we experience it. A day is the time it takes Earth to complete one full rotation on its axis. Right now, that rotation takes about 24 hours. If a day suddenly became 25 hours long, it would mean the planet itself had slowed down. Not stopped, not dramatically, just enough that every rotation took 1 extra hour to complete.
That doesn't sound like much, 1 hour out of 24. But the Earth is very large and very fast. At the equator, the surface of the planet currently moves at roughly 465 meters per second. Stretch the day to 25 hours, and that speed drops to about 446 meters per second. The change is subtle, but it affects the entire planet at once. The atmosphere, the oceans, and even the shape of the Earth itself are all tuned to the speed at which the planet spins. The first thing to feel the difference would be the sky. Weather systems are powered by Earth's rotation. The Coriolis effect, which bends winds and gives us rotating storms, depends directly on how fast the planet spins. Slow the rotation, and that invisible force weakens. Hurricanes would still exist, but they would spin more slowly and grow wider. Storms would linger longer over the same areas, dumping more rain in one place instead of racing across continents. Some regions would become wetter, others much drier.
Ocean currents would also begin to reorganize. The massive conveyor belts of warm and cold water that regulate Earth's climate rely on rotation and wind patterns. A slower day would subtly alter those winds, nudging currents into new paths over decades and centuries. The result wouldn't be immediate disaster, but a slow reshuffling of climate zones. Deserts might creep outward, forests might shift poleward, cities built for one climate would find themselves living in another.
But the most noticeable change would be how time feels. Humans are biological clocks wrapped in skin. Our sleep cycles, hormone release, and alertness all follow a rhythm tied closely to the length of the day. A 25-hour day would push us just outside our comfort zone. Some people would adapt more easily than others, but many would feel permanently slightly jet-lagged. Nights would feel longer. Mornings would arrive more slowly. The sun would rise a little later each clock day, unless we redesigned our entire system of timekeeping. And we probably would. Very quickly, societies would face a choice. Do we keep our clocks tied to the sun, letting noon drift and redefining the length of an hour? Or do we keep the hour exactly the same and accept that a day is now longer than our traditional schedules?
Either way, the extra hour wouldn't feel like a gift. It wouldn't become free time. It would be claimed almost instantly by work, expectations, and infrastructure. Power grids would run longer. Transportation schedules would stretch. Markets would stay open. Somewhere, someone would decide that productivity could now last 1 hour more.
Biology, however, would not negotiate so easily. Plants use daylight to grow, and they measure time with extraordinary precision. A longer day would change when they flower, when they release pollen, and how efficiently they photosynthesize. Crops, adapted to a 24-hour cycle, might grow more slowly or mature unevenly. Farmers would adjust planting schedules. Ecosystems would slowly retune themselves to the new rhythm of light and dark.
Animals would feel it too. Predators and prey rely on timing. Being early or late by even a small amount can mean the difference between eating and being eaten.
Migration patterns, hunting cycles, and breeding seasons would all begin to drift. Nature would adapt, but not instantly, and not without friction. Even the planet's shape would respond. Earth is not a perfect sphere. It bulges slightly at the equator because of its rotation. Slow that rotation, and the bulge would shrink. Over long periods of time, land would very gradually shift. Sea levels would subtly redistribute, with water creeping toward the poles. Coastlines wouldn't redraw themselves overnight, but the planet would be quietly, patiently adjusting to its new spin rate. From space, the change would be almost beautiful. Sunrises would last longer, sunsets would stretch out, painting the sky for extra minutes each day. Shadows would move more slowly. Time-lapse footage of clouds would look slightly off, as if the world itself were hesitating. And after a while, no one would remember it was ever different. Children would grow up in a world where a day had always been 25 hours. Their bodies would adapt. Their languages would encode it. Their calendars, holidays, and rituals would all be built around this longer rhythm. The idea of squeezing an entire life into just 24 hours would sound absurdly rushed. The Earth would still be carrying more angular momentum than before. The moon would still be tugging on us, slowly stealing rotational energy through tides, stretching days longer by milliseconds over millions of years. A 25-hour day wouldn't be the end of that process. It would just be one more step in a very long story. A story in which time itself is not fixed, but negotiable. Not decided by clocks or calendars, but by the slow, silent turning of a planet beneath our feet. And if that turning slowed just a little more tomorrow, most of us would once again wake up, check the time, and get on with our day, never noticing that the world had quietly given us one extra hour to exist.